Hi Omar.
Hi Olivia, how's it going?
Good, thanks.
Uh,
Um,
no, just like to kick off. So tell us a little bit about your journey from university into, I guess, the business world and your progression through your journey.
Sure. So, I started my commerce degree at Melbourne Uni many moons ago, and it was probably far less specialised than the degrees that everyone, comes out and graduates with today. Really, there were kind of a couple of main streams you could travel down. It was either doing finance and accounting or marketing. There certainly probably wasn't, specialisations into technology or anything else that currently exists. So I ended up, finishing my commerce degree, graduating, and I joined Pacific Brands as a graduate, which was, quite different. Pacific Brands at that time, had a large clothing group. They had household products, footwear, sleepwear, all sorts of amazing brands that you would find in many discount department stores around Australia. And I was seconded to Freehill, Hollingdale and Page in sort of a marketing compliance role, and worked with a senior IP partner there, and learned a huge amount. Went around to a number of the different businesses, and I guess travelled interstate quite a lot. And really, just embrace different opportunities. And I guess kind of from there, I ended up moving overseas, and I ended up working for a telco, which was slightly different, but they were. It was at a time when they were selling mobile phones in supermarkets and forecourts in service stations across the UK. So my experience was relevant there, and then moved to Vertex, which is a contact centre outsourcing and sort of CRM company around 2000s, which was also very exciting. Came back to Australia and worked for Teletech. Then I spent probably the bulk of my career at IBM for 13 years, and since then I've just joined EY in January this year as a partner in our technology advisory team in the financial services organisation.
Oh, excellent. So it's quite clear that you moved through a couple of industries and had a career that probably wasn't what you expected as a student. So if you can think back, reflecting to when you were a student, were there career ambitions that you had? Was there a direction you wanted to go down from an internship or such?
I think I did vacation work at PwC, and that was in audit, and it probably taught me a lot about a couple of companies that we were auditing at the time, but also probably explained to me something I didn't really want to pursue as a career. Apologies to all you budding auditors out there. It's obviously a very specific career that many people tackle, but it wasn't for me. And so I remember telling my parents when I was offered a graduate job at PwC that I was turning it down, and they weren't particularly impressed with my choice. But I think being able to be true to yourself and do something you really want to do is also really important. So I ended up at Pac Brands, and I think as a student it's really just about embracing opportunities and being able to make the most of them, getting exposure to things that you enjoy, because you spend a lot of time at work. So, you really want to make sure that whatever you're going to be doing is something that you're going to be passionate and excited about, because, you spend a lot of time at work, and it's probably somewhere where you want to have as much fun as you do, kind of in your private life. So, yeah, that was, I think I probably didn't plan it. It wasn't a planned career, and I have moved around quite a lot. Part of it was, I went over to London. My boyfriend at the time moved to London, so that was he's now my husband, so it was probably a good move moving to London. Yeah. But I went with $5,000 in my bank account and didn't have a job, and took a risk which in many ways has sort of paid off really well for my career. But I think just being open to opportunity, meeting people, continuing to network throughout your career, and being open to as many opportunities as you can try out is probably the way to go, and it's certainly worked for me.
Yeah. So just following on from that, would you say that for most students it's alright not to have a passion or have a passion for an industry where you want to go after you finish university? It's alright to still be unsure of what's out there?
Oh, absolutely. I think, if I look at my career trajectory, there's no way I could have planned that out, and any experience you get across different industries is going to be good experience, right? So from, clothing and sporting goods and footwear through to, some of the work I've been doing more recently in banking, in digital and analytics. Some of these industries, digital didn't really exist, right? At the time when I started my career, I remember people used to hand around memos. Like there was sort of, it makes me sound really old, but there were, paper memos that were dropped on people's desks because there was no email. So if you think of that, sort of over 15 years ago, careers that are prominent now, and a lot of the work that's being done around particularly digital, and for me in banking, I hadn't really worked in banking before ever in my career, so IBM kind of afforded me that opportunity. It's something I'm really growing on at EY. But yeah, I think it's absolutely okay to not have a plan, and I think part of that's just about your attitude. You've got to have an open mind, never stop learning. Probably also don't compromise on your personal values and things that are important to you. So, things unfold. It comes down to people you meet in your career, people who can help you. There's a huge startup community in Melbourne at the moment. There's some amazing co-working spaces. I wish I'd existed when I was a student, because I think it just provides such opportunity to, get started and start your own thing. It's amazing.
Excellent. So with your career, could you say there would be a proudest moment for you, or is there a few highlights as you move through London, Melbourne? It's been
I think,
a journey.
Probably what my proudest moment in many ways is becoming a mum. So I've got 3 kids, Henry, Zoe and Nicholas, who are 10, 8 and 6, and that is by far my probably proudest career moment as a mother. If I talk about my corporate career, definitely being promoted to partner at IBM was a highlight, and it was sort of a really big achievement. And looking back on that, I probably don't think I celebrated enough. So that's another thing that I think is really important, is you celebrate your successes. And yeah, they're probably 2 of my proudest moments. Yeah,
that's excellent. So as a student all throughout your career, I think it's important that you do look back and reflect on your past moments. Is there anything you wish you did differently? I know for some students looking back, it might be doing a case competition, being exposed to different industries. Is there something that a moment you've learned from, or when on reflection you think I could have done that a bit differently?
Oh, look, I probably could have studied harder. I spent less time at Norton's, but I think, look, not really. I think it's just making sure that you meet as many people as you can. I was president of the FMAA when I was at uni, helped expand and nationalise the FMAA to a couple of different states. So that was, a pretty great opportunity. And I think in many ways, exposure to doing some kind of leadership role like that while you're at university gives you some amazing experience that you can then capitalise on when you go through grad interviews, and, gives you confidence that you've delivered something that's probably not dissimilar to something you do in a corporate career. So, look, I don't think there's anything that I, wish I did differently. Very happy I went to Melbourne Uni. I've since done an MBA at Global Business School, and I probably wouldn't have been able to do that without my undergraduate degree. So I think, just making the most of it, like realise when you're there that it's only a short time that most people are at university for, and, it sounds cliche, but they're probably the best days of your life. So just get as much out of it as you can.
Yeah. And moving on from, say, beyond university and, talking about extracurricular work, when you are progressing through your career, do you think it's important that you do find that balance in work, and that you still hold on to the things that you enjoy and really making your time to disconnect from work?
Absolutely. So, I think being able to, do exercise is incredibly important. So, in particularly when you've got a busy executive career, being able to find time, carve it out for yourself to do exercise is something that, I certainly have as a bit of a non-negotiable. I'm doing F45 at the moment, probably not doing particularly well at it, but I've been inspired by a couple of my team who have had some great results. And I think it's really important to do, things that you enjoy outside of work. I think as well, my team recently did some volunteering at the Salvos in the Hamavita Cafe, which is just in Burke Street, at the top of Burke Street, and we all found that incredibly rewarding. So, finding some time to do something that gives you purpose, or something that's professional give back, I think is, it's really important to become a balanced person. So, whether you enjoy music, or whether you enjoy sport, or whether you enjoy doing reading and being part of a book club, having something outside of work is absolutely critical to ensure, that you can balance out your life, and also finding time with your family and friends. So, yeah.
Oh, that's excellent. So I think we've touched on briefly here and there about advice you give to students, so that I guess it's a long road ahead and you shouldn't be set on one thing. What advice would you give to, say, students beginning their career journey, or a first year who's just come to the Bachelor of Commerce, was probably maybe told by their parents to do it, or thought it's all money? And
I think just, pick subjects that you're going to enjoy, do all the core subjects that you have to, because, whilst you don't think, they might not be the most enjoyable subjects, they're really there for a reason. I think, study hard, try and work hard in whatever you're doing, whether it's a part-time job, an internship, or if you're in a leadership role in a club at uni or whatever. And, have a good time with your friends as well. It's, it's a special time when you can kind of enjoy going out and, you have a lot more free time when you're at university than you probably do at any other time in your life. I would say ensure that, you persist and really try hard and continue to be resilient. Set yourself some ambitious goals, and, whether they're personal goals or whether they're, academic goals. And, I think if you set yourself goals, more often than not, you probably, you get close to achieving, whatever it is you want to do. I think if you kind of just meander along, then, often things don't get achieved or don't get done. So, if you want to get an H1 in a subject, set yourself that goal and make some time, carve it out in your life to do it. If you want to, run a marathon or something, you've got to carve out time to become better at running. So I think, my advice would be just take on all new opportunities, never stop learning. I still continue to learn on a daily basis, and I think when you stop learning and you have a closed mind, it's probably a pretty boring life that you're living. So embrace opportunities and make sure you meet as many people as you can from all walks of life, whether they're academic or corporate or, family, friends, or wherever else you can meet people. I think just networking is incredibly important, and make the most of it.
Excellent. So you've touched on networking and reaching out to friends and family. Was there a mentor or someone you looked up to throughout your career, or even through university?
I probably looked up to my mother a lot. She, she's always worked very hard, but I guess having informal mentors is really important. I think the partner I worked for at Freehills, I continue to catch up with him a lot. Someone like Paul Hamister is someone I've touched base with at different times in my career. And there's certainly many people from IBM that I still consider mentors. I think having a mentor is really important. And you've got to work out what you want to get out of that mentoring relationship. But at different times in your life, in your career, in your study, you'll have different mentors for different reasons. So, if you want to join a startup, go find someone in the startup community to talk to about it, because really mentoring is about, I guess, identifying things you want to achieve and having someone help you kind of think of different ways that you can maybe do that, or just bouncing ideas off them. So it's really, at certain times in your career, I think working out who your personal board of directors is, right? Like, who do you have as your people who are going to help guide you on your career? So, yeah.
I think that's really important, and I think personal board of directors is something that makes it a lot easier to think about, and I think we have those people in our lives naturally. It's just more so reaching out to them and understanding they're there to help.
And I think, I was going to add, I think, people genuinely are, often really flattered to be, asked to help, and I think you get more out of it by actually speaking up and asking than, not asking. And, I think you've got to sometimes ask people to make sure they know that you want to hear about things in their career or personal life that you found interesting and that you can leverage.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So I think we've touched on what you would give advice you give to a student, and your career probably hasn't taken the path you thought about, and you said if you could go back, maybe study a little bit harder. Is there something looking back as a student, or if you're a student today, that you tell yourself you do a bit differently, or I guess motivate yourself a little bit more and say you can do that? Is there something you can think of along those lines?
I think, I don't know, look, I spent a lot of time at the Bailey Library, when I was at uni, not a lot of reference books were on file, so I probably could have spent a little bit more time at the Bailey studying harder. I don't know, not really. I think just, make the most of being at uni. Like, get as much out of it as you can. If you want to do a subject outside of commerce, see if you can do that. If you want to, do a postgrad after you finish your degree, then contemplate doing that. I think it's just, also, getting out in the workforce is incredibly rewarding, and, it's kind of what you go to university for. So, getting a grad job is absolutely critical. I don't think I look back on anything more than just, if you're presented with a grad opportunity, go it with both hands, open arms and both hands, and kind of make the most out of it and try and be successful at whatever you do.
Excellent. I think that's something we can all take away. Well, thank you, Olivia, for joining today for the FMAA National Podcast, and really appreciate your insights and, advice for students for their future. And
my absolute pleasure.
Thank you.